Hello, my name is John Galvin, and today I'm presenting for my business class entitled Business Intelligence CIS570 at CSU. Um, Today I am presenting on the FDA and the pharmaceutical drug industry. I'm going to look at one specific aspect of the FDA, as it is massive, and hopefully explain how they use business intelligence software to consolidate all their various um, databases to have a unified understanding of their data. Specifically, this means data cleansing. We talked about this in the first few weeks of our class. I tried to put this in action in my own business and came up to a very wide array of issues. So I was quite inspired by that to go into our presentation here looking specifically at data cleansing and how other people are getting around this hurdle. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you learned something. So we have here the FDA overview, and my perspective is a federal agency of the United States of America, specifically in the Department of Health and Human Services. They are tasked to protect and promote public health around America through various regulations, as you can see. They do have a law enforcement section of the department. So occasionally in labs you'll see the FDA come around and they have full badges and guns and they can't arrest you. These regulations are very strict and voted upon. So it's very important for people to understand these regulations and follow them correctly. Next, you can see what I like to call bench to bedside. This means lab bench to hospital bedside, the steps of drug development. There are, I believe, 7 steps listed below, and it takes approximately 10 years for any research organization to complete all of these steps. This is an estimated timeline, but in general, that is correct. We are going to specifically look at one section of this, the CBER, Center for Biologics Evaluation and Research. They are tasked with the oversight of new biological products for the prevention, diagnosis, and treatment of human disease. Next to this, you'll see the various steps that researchers would have to go through to develop a drug and then actually market it and sell it to human patients, and then the continued efforts they have to put forward to make sure these drugs are continuing to be safe and effective in the environment. So we can clearly see here that the developmental stage happens at any one time. Then you have preclinical stages, which the GLP is good laboratory practices, which the FDA mandates. Clinical research phases have 4 that last over several years and several different patient numbers, ranging from a small subset of maybe 4 patients to a larger population of around 100. These can last between months and years per phase. Then you actually apply for your new drug through the FDA. The FDA will then review your findings, labeling, and safety. They'll do inspections and see your action plan, and finally post-market evaluations of safety among actual customers. The development of IT systems is obviously very important for this process, um, as there are literally hundreds of thousands of new applications and a wide variety of new regulations always coming forth, as this is a voted on and Congress approved regulatory department. These processes really do need to be reviewed constantly, and application submissions needed to be updated alongside these new regulations. So currently we have systems in place to review the current and new regulations put forth, uh, track any new applications for regulations, as well as track and manage the CBER submissions, which we talked about in the previous slide. This is what I'll be focusing on mainly in my presentation today. Here we can see the 7 major IT systems and databases used for the project development lifecycle. As we discussed, the discovery phase, pre-submission, investigation, marketing, and post-marketing were all involved. And you can see down on the bottom left side that the CBER system does manage the entirety of this project and takes in all these different databases to evaluate the several steps involved in bringing a drug to market. It's clear that we have a disconnect between all the different departments, and thus it's very important for us to be able to look at the entirety of the data, consolidate it, and most importantly, cleanse it so we can take actionable moves to quickly move drugs into market as they are needed. Um, as understood from the previous slide, um, this inherently creates a silo effect, which is the disconnect between all the different departments having very specific um, data architecture and arrangements and understandings and filings of individual data that need to be consolidated to be able to easily access what's going on and move forward with development. So the next steps for these departments would then be to use BI solutions to solve this silo problem, um, along with the data cleansing solution, which I think is the most important aspect. The BI solutions offer reporting, management of the data marts, and keeping with the data mart principles. The OLAP, online analytic processing, will be used, as well as the very important master data management. Um, this is the focus of the project I'm doing today, and we'll go into more detail about how they use the MDMM for drug development. Currently, the BI is being used for CBER by way of database convergence. Uh, the regulatory IT system uses the same database instant with partitioned scheme accounts. Um, this means they can share the database objects, that being tables, entities, keys, values, procedures, functions, as well as a variety of other things that they could be using, um, to have a unified understanding of these objects. They'll use common data definitions, which we would call data cleansing, to really unify all the data ideas and consolidate the columns. Um, and then we'll also be using similar architecture and schemes for the administration of these databases. The tools being used here are Oracle's Master Data Management and Structured Query Language, the MDM and SQL. Um, Specifically, we're going to look at this Master Data Objects section, um, and that is the key software being used here. So the CBER databases put in this Master Data Objects function, which is shared among all the tables in all of the databases. And when queried, the function will output a very standardized data set that has been defined by the users to have a unified data language. So all the various tables will give you the exact same and accurate data. And this is a great tool for data cleansing among various databases which the CBER uses to continue on with drug development. So as I said, the master data management can utilize various different source data inputs and cleanse the data um, using a function that they embed in all the tables to output consolidated and authoritative master data, which is then distributed across all operational and analytical applications that could be used or needed to make the next steps forward. In this case, our drug development. Um, yes. So here we can see the benefits to our BI system have harmonized and helped manage the information across all the different departments to provide the best, most accurate and actionable data available. My little diagram shows here that the data warehouses from all the departments are first. They feed into the master data management, and finally at the center we have our applications which we can use. All right, so now we can see how they use the Oracle program to help harmonize and manage all their information across the variety of departments. And this can provide a very accurate and actionable data set that they'll then store in their data mart for all departments to access at any time. This is going to be tremendously helpful for them in pursuing whichever new drug discoveries come around, and gives the customers or the researchers better understanding and quicker response times to move forward with their drug developments. Thank you. The current challenges that we face now are unstructured data. Um, to create a master data for unstructured data is actually going to be extremely complicated. Um, when submitting these applications, researchers often put in um, their findings through figures and graphs, which currently the master data management system does not account for. Um, so they're running into that problem currently, but with all the various unstructured data issues that we have today, I am sure this will be tackled quickly. We also see unforeseen updates to our regulations. How those are going to be presented is still unclear. So hopefully the process in place will be available to cleanse these kind of new updates, but until we know how they're actually going to be presented, we can never know how they'll influence our current system or how the current system needs to adapt uh, to combat these problems. My two discussion questions here the first one is, other than using a master data management system, how could we cleanse our data for a unified data mart? I went through this problem myself, and I basically cut and pasted various columns into a data mart and found that due to the unregulated nature of different individuals entering data, uh, it really ranged on the understanding of what that data actually was. So I had to go through and manually update a number of cells just to be able to do a quick analysis. Um, and so it's obviously extremely time consuming to cleanse the data by hand or by individual. And it's obvious that we need a system in place to be able to quickly do this um, for us. Otherwise, the manpower alone is just going to be outweighing the cost benefits involved here. The second question I had would be around regulating the source data provided um, so that the data is basically pre-cleansed as it goes into the data mart or database. Obviously, this would be the most advantageous for us, but to get everybody to agree on how data should be labeled um, and organized is going to be a huge feat, because the FDA is such an enormous department. Um, to be able to train everybody to input data the exact same way every time with new employees and old employees, that's a huge problem. Um, so if it's pretty obvious to me that the solution here is BI software that can cleanse a huge amount of data for us in a small amount of time, so true analytics can take place uh, in a timely manner. Here are the references I used for today's presentation. Um, yeah. Well, thanks again for watching my quick video. This is the first time I've ever done a video. Hope it came out good enough. Yeah, again, my name is John Galvin, and thank you for watching. Bye.